Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Restorative Podcast. We have another awesome episode for you this time. We are joined on this episode by Miss Nicole Petit. She has a story, and I'm sure you're going to be inspired by it. But you know what? That's enough from me. Miss Petit, how are you?
I am great. Nobody wants to hear a complaint, so I am great.
Good. And I am so happy that you decided to be a part of the Restorative Podcast because the whole point of this podcast is to restore what people have lost.
Right.
Maybe they've lost a step, maybe they've lost some energy, maybe they just lost their drive. So what we try to do with every episode is to give them some tools that they can use so they can go out and have a better quality of life. And from what I know about you, I know that you're going to give it to them.
Absolutely.
So let's start off by tell us who you are.
Okay. I am a mother first, two beautiful girls. I'm also a writer, I'm author, and I am a public speaker as well as a motivational speaker. So that pretty much sums it up in a nutshell as far as what I do. But who I am a nurturer by nature, something that is just should be, but it is in me to always be a nurturer first when it comes to man, human, animal, whatever the case may be. But I'm also a woman of drive and tenacity. And I'm also a woman who has watched her mother go through what we didn't know was a struggle. And now I'm that same woman. So I'm thankful for that, to continue to get up and do what needs to be done. Even in the midst of trials and tribulations, I'm still able to get up and make it happen. I do believe it's not about how many times you fall, it's about how many times you get up. So right now my get up is a hell of a lot better than my get down. So I'm okay with that. And I'm a happy person. I'm very objective with decisions I make. I'm pretty calculated most of the times. And I'm aware around, I'm happy. I'm a very happy person, not judgmental of anyone. Whenever you wake up and you have life in you, it's kind of hard, in my opinion, to wake up with a chip on your shoulder. So many people do, but I don't understand. Like, you can breathe, you can see, you have all your body functions working properly. Why wake up upset every day? So I always try to find the good as soon as I wake up, because I do believe your thoughts also make your day the way you think of it to be. So every day I wake up, I do my meditation and realize today is going to be a great day because I said it was going to be a great day. And that's pretty much, who I am as a woman, as a mother in whole.
Okay. I'm a firm believer in everything you just said. Every day we make a decision whether we're going to be happy, sad, or indifferent. It's a choice that we make daily.
Yes, we do.
So 2020 has thrown a lot at us. So how has 2020 impacted your life?
2020. They said this was the year of vision.
It is.
It has been quite that. Something you have to visualize, and you'll be able to hopefully in the next 10 years be like, y'all remember 2020? But 2020 for me has been, well, I have to be careful what I say because it hasn't been really bad, because I know people who have really struggled. So I don't want to complain and say that 2020 has been bad. 2020 has thrown some wrenches in the game, but it has not stopped me from doing the things that I need to do with my children and with my mom or anyone else that can need me. I've been blessed to be in the predicament I'm in. Sometimes when I do want to go cry, I realize still, even in those moments, things could be a lot worse. Like, I'm still able to take care of my girls, provide for my mother and myself while all of this is going on. So I refuse to say it's been tough, because I know my situation is beyond great. But it's some wrenches have been thrown in there, but that's okay. We can remove those wrenches. That's about it. But as far as how the year has gone, I pretty much am one. I said, you know what? The universe and God, they're telling me, just relax, sit still, do whatever you're doing, but sit still and do that. And then when we come out of this, while everyone else is complaining about it or we can't do this, I'm still working on becoming that entrepreneur or becoming that motivational speaker to do what I need to do to help other women like myself. I'm brewing. You know, when that coffee gets ready, they better be ready.
Okay, okay. Awesome. So I guess I met you a few years ago
Mhm.
because you sent me an autographed copy of your book,
Absolutely.
Focus, Fearless, and Fighting. You
Yes.
know, so tell the listeners, what is Focus, Fearless, and Fighting? How did that come into being?
Well, that book started actually my daughter's senior year in high school. When I noticed all her peers were clinging to me. They would come over and start asking me questions. And I realized those questions are questions that they should be asking their parents. So there's a reason why there's a disconnect. So I welcome them to do so. Also, I'm very open with my children because I admit first that I'm human. So once you acknowledge the fact that you're human and it's okay to not know, those things begin to come alive for the book. So after speaking with some of my daughter's peers and initiating a group called the Six Figure Club, I just naturally became a mentor for these students. So after going through that, I said, you know what? People are asking questions. Let me just put it in a book, and see how it goes. So writing the book allowed me to allow the parents to read what we should be doing as parents. So when they're going to school, they will have the proper tools, and the teacher or the educator does not have to be a guidance counseling, a mother, a daycare, a babysitter. They can do what their passion is, and that's to educate the children. So reading that book, if you pass any child, or if you're in passing of a child, and if you have 5 minutes to speak, that book is for you. It's raw, it's uncut. I talk about sex. One of the things that I really love in the book and that I reiterate often and have to give parents an enlightenment is there's 100% going to school. 20% is fighting, 20% is sex, 20% is drugs, and the other 20% is social media. That last 20% is education. So if you realize that only 20% of a child's education, and this is my opinion, let me add, if you realize that all the distractions that your child have, you would probably handle them a little bit different because they have it hard compared to what we did. We didn't have social media growing up in high school or middle school. It was you go to school, you get your books, and you come back. Now technology has taken over everything, and technology is raising our children. So
Exactly.
doing all of that in the book and acknowledging all of these things in the book to allow parents to know how to manage things like that. Check on your children's, how they're being self-consciously. Check and see if they're losing self-esteem, or if things are just not right, because so much of the internet is really truly raising our youth. So the book is to help parents, aunts, uncles, educators, help them all to say, okay, let me take a step back and be a little bit objective and understand that it's not that the child do not want to learn. This child could have easily come from a place where their parents just cussed them out before they came to school, or they just watched their mom get beat, or they're hungry. So it's not the fact that they don't want to learn. Is put in situations where at the age of 10 through 17, they're being taught to be a man or a woman, and they haven't even finished being children yet. So it's a perspective to allow parents to understand what they should be doing as parents. It has worked for me. It may not work for anyone else, but I am aware that even though I've given my children the tools, as they get older, they may still take the wrong path, but it won't be because they didn't have the resources. So I put all the resources in the book. So if a parent is, and then they're in lessons. So you have your K-5, you have your first, you have your middle school, you have your high school, and you have going off to college as far as how the book is broken down. So it allowed parents and educators to be able to say, my child, or this is sixth grade or middle school, and go directly to those chapters if they don't want to read the book, at that particular time. But that's what provoked me to write the book, knowing that these children just need love and attention. And if you give them the wrong type of love and attention, then that's what they steer to. Whether you're showing them you love them in a sense of cursing them out, that's that generational curse that I speak of. Or if you're directly showing them real love. So the book is for everyone.
Okay. And I've read your book, and one of the parts that stood out to me is in one of the chapters you talk about, your child coming to you for help, and you don't know how to answer that question. You can't do that math. And your advice in the book is to tell them, I don't know, but this is an opportunity for you and I to do it together.
Right. Because we have so many parents, and it's frustrating. We have so many parents that refuse to admit when they're wrong, or when they do get upset, they use improper language to speak with their children. So it's like they come up with this thing that's whatever that thing is. It says, I'm a mother or father now. I can't allow my children to know that I don't know things. I think it's the stupidest idea ever. I really do believe that that's just, it doesn't make any sense, because even as an adult, you don't know everything. So these are times, especially the education, because education has changed so much since we've been in school. So you shouldn't expect to know everything. If that was the case, you'll probably be in a different or better situation. So when that child doesn't understand, you're the first resource. How you respond is what they're going to expect the rest of society to respond, how they respond. So don't be the first to tell them no. Never be the first to tell them no. And that's what happens. And that's why a lot of children they're not motivated anymore, because they can't get the help or the resource they need from their immediate parent. So now they're like, if I can't go to my mom or dad when I'm struggling, then who am I supposed to go to? So you've already demoralized the child thoughts. And so all this start from home. I get that. But at what point do we say, I just think it starts at home. I think it's a huge cliche. That's like saying, leave it up to God. I think those are cliches, because that allows us to not be accountable for things we're supposed to do. So I hate that aspect. I know quite a few parents who feel that way. Hopefully the ones who are reading the book can understand that it's okay to not know. Just still make sure that they get what they need out of it, because you may never need it. But if the child is in need of the help, make sure they get the help they need. Don't come to them and say, well, I don't know how to do this. You have to figure it out on your own. That is horrible. To tell that's the first rejection that your child has experienced is from you, the parent. That's horrible. So that was great.
It really was. But in that same chapter, your kids gave you a nickname. What was your nickname?
And it's funny, and I need to go get it. And I think my youngest started it first. No, my oldest started it first. Nicole Make Shit Happen Petite.
That's it.
And my oldest came home from college one day with a portrait or a picture that says, make shit happen. And I thought it was in glitter, and she didn't make it. It was something that she was in some store, and she so she bought it for me. And that derived from, there are so many emotions in that make shit happen, because as a single mother, I'm always having to make things happen, not for one child, but for two. Well, for three, because I have to count myself into that. We're living three different entities. So I'm having to make shit happen for them first, and then for myself last. That's an emotional thing to hold on to, but we do it because we have to. I was speaking with someone probably about 2 weeks ago about telling me I'm a good woman or I'm a strong woman. And I don't like the stigma, because when people just feel like you're a strong woman, that comes with the subconscious, she can handle it. That's usually what they mean. Oh, she's a strong woman, she can handle it. I hate that stigma against us, especially Black women, that we can handle any and everything. And on top of that, we're now owning that. We're now saying we're independent. We don't need a man. Well, let me be first to clarify. I'm not saying that. I'll be lying if I said I don't need a man. Those are just lies, things that we just have been provoked to say. And I don't like that. So when I hear make shit happen, I get it. I understand why, that's been put on me, because I do. I'm going to own that, because I do. Because if I didn't, nobody else will, as far as my family's concerned. But I don't like the stigma of, she got it, she will make shit happen, don't worry, she don't need your help. I don't like that stigma attached to women because I wear this cape not because I want to. I wear it because I have to.
There you go.
There's a huge difference that society needs to understand, that we're put on a burden. I understand back history when we talked about how the government took the Black man out the home. Okay, if you want to use that as your excuse for back then, there's no excuse for it today. So those are just some of the stigmas that come with making shit happen or being that strong woman that I just have never really I just have never really just gotten down with it because it allows societies to think she got it. She don't need any help. It to the point to where if I shed tears in front of people I don't know, it doesn't even bother them. It doesn't provoke any type of emotion from them to watch a Black woman cry because it's something that they feel like, oh, she's strong. She's just crying for the moment. She'll be okay. All of that has been attached. I'm gonna tell you this short story. I was watching a video on Instagram, and apparently the young lady had, I don't know if she had been out just watching what I saw, and I don't know if she had been drinking or not. Anything could have happened, and her car flipped over, and it was like maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I saw her trying to push the car ended up on the side. She was trying to push the car back over in her heels, stiletto heels, and a cute little, night out dress. The person who was recording it was a man. So instead of him assisting her, he videotaped her as if this is something that she could do on her own. I'm just going to videotape her. That, oh gosh, that pissed me off to the highest point of festivity, because that is the exact stigma that comes with what she didn't do that because she wanted to. She did it because she had to. No, all these people standing around videotaping her, all these men, and no one said, let me help you push this car over, or you don't need to be trying to push this car over. They watched her struggle instead of helping her. And I think all that came to the attachment of being this strong Black woman in today's society. Would that scenario have gone differently if she would have been of another race? I think so, because we have used the strong Black woman on Black women, and we've used that, she's in distress for other race. And I don't get it. And I got to figure out how we're going to break that stigma, because we're owning it ourselves. So we first have to stop owning that we're such strong people, or we going to make shit happen. And we struggle through all this. I'm a strong woman. I got all this. Well, you struggle through it. And as I've said before, being a strong individual is not a badge of honor. It's a badge of struggle. You've just allowed me to know you struggled all your life and you're still here. So it's nothing that I want to go through. Nobody wants to struggle through life to get what they need. You want help as long as it's offered and it's sincere anyways. So the make shit happen is really, that's what my children have watched me do. So without me even saying anything, they've watched me do that. They continue to watch me do that. So what I hope that they learn from that is they have to have that tenacity and the drive to do the same thing, because I'm not expecting anything less. Even though I've taught them with my mouth, one thing is what you show your children is what they're going to pick up. Because and the way I like to say this is, they do as they see, not as what you say.
Exactly.
So you can tell them, don't smoke cigarettes. They only see what you're doing. So we have to be careful as parents to make sure that we're being that leader in front of them. They've seen me break down. That lets them know I'm human. They've seen me make shit happen. So in their mind, the only person that they can depend on is me. I hate that. That's not a good thing. I don't think that's a good thing, because I'm not going to always be around to be that backbone for them. But it lets me know that when they are older and mature and on their own, they would think of how I did them, and hopefully it becomes second nature for them to do the same. So if for nothing else, hopefully they have picked up those habits to keep it moving and make sure they do what they need to do in life. When you get one no, keep going. You only need one yes, only.
That's powerful. That's powerful. I really like that, and that's the first time I've ever heard a woman say those things.
Oh gosh.
Like you said, Black women have owned it. I'm a strong Black independent woman, and I can do anything. But, I think you got deeper into it because you say nobody wants to struggle, but you do it because you have to do it.
You have to do it, not because you want to do it. It's nothing that I want to own and say, I did all this by myself. And I'm like, why? That's nothing to be really proud of. I mean, I guess you can be proud of that, but it's nothing that I want to share with the world. I did this, so you can do this too. Now I don't need a man. Yes, you do. You still need a man. You still need a man. So I would be the first to say, or not to say, I don't need a man, because I'd be lying. I would completely be lying.
Okay. So as a single mom raising two young ladies, what is the greatest challenge that you faced?
You know what? The greatest challenge is now they're getting older. I have an 18-year-old and a 22, should be 23 this year, and then they're both girls. The hardest thing has been the emotions. One day, my youngest may be upset, and that same day, at the same time, my oldest may be emotional for whatever reason. So I have to some kind of way figure out how to manage their emotions and manage mine. So the only obstacle, thank goodness, thank God, thank the universe, that I have is emotions. Being able to understand what my youngest may be going through or what my oldest may be going through, because I know a lot of the trauma has come from me getting a divorce, me making those type of decisions for the family. They've watched me through all of that. So even now, I still have to be careful with how I handle even their dad or any other man that I attempt to date. I have to know that they're watching me do that as well. So not only do I have to put myself in the mindset of knowing that this may be someone I want, I have to also still say my children are still watching me. If I allow them to continue to watch someone disrespect me, subconsciously, they may pick and choose the same type of man because that's what they're familiar with. It's not that they love or like it, but that's their familiarity. So they will stay in that. Another reason why I had to acknowledge me divorcing was I was stuck in contentment. And it really wasn't even contentment because it wasn't a healthy relationship. But I would have stayed in that relationship because I became comfortable in my inability to know that I wasn't being loved properly. I had to step out of that box and say, wow, this is not the way it was supposed to be. But I would have never known that if we would have never split, because I had gotten used to the treatment. And unfortunately, my children were around to watch the mistreatment. So now emotionally, I'm trying to make sure my oldest don't pick someone like this person, because you watched this person do these things, and I don't want you to think that that's what your man should be doing, because I was hypocritical so much in my marriage. I would always tell him, don't marry nobody like him, but I was still married to him. So I was like, Mom, we hear you, but we see something totally different. And this is where the aspect comes in. They hear what you say, but they're going to they hear what you do louder. If that makes any sense. They hear what you do louder than they do what you actually say. So it got to the point to where I had to say, you know what? My children think I'm so hypocritical because I'm telling them what not to do. And here I am doing exactly what I told them not to do. So even with me going through the divorce, they are now able to say, okay, Mama meant what she said. Don't marry anyone like this. And so now emotionally, I'm just making sure that whatever man my oldest get with, that he's going to treat her accordingly. And whomever my youngest get with, he has to treat her accordingly. And I have to make sure he does not have certain characteristics, and they end up with someone who is pretty much is just going to bring them harm and not good. So that is the biggest challenge I have. It's just dealing with my girl's emotions. Like I said, one may feel this emotion one day, and then the same day she's going through something. So I'm having to switch routines depending on how they're feeling throughout the day to comfort them, to make sure they have what they need, to continue to motivate them, because I'm what they got. So that's my biggest struggle, just dealing with their emotions. I'm not gonna say dealing with them, but having to try to interpret their emotions and let them know in some form that we're going to be okay. So far, so good.
Exactly. So you talked about being in a marriage that wasn't conducive to your happiness. What was that turning point? How did you make that decision that, you know what, this is not what I need anymore?
Well, I'm going to tell you what was the turning point. He left me.
Okay.
He decided to leave. I have learned so much from that. We probably shouldn't have never gotten married, probably should have divorced 10, 15 years before. I don't know if it was because of the children, and I'm gonna sidetrack a little bit and just say to those who are still in a marriage because of the children, that you're doing more damage than you can do if you went ahead and gone your separate ways. And I say that because your children are in a situation where they're watching you. They're watching dad not love on mom. They're watching mom not love on dad. So these are the expectations, which are or lack thereof, that they're going to expect from someone that they date. The son, if the son was in the home watching dad not love on mom, now the son dates and he has no affection or emotional just room about himself at all because dad never had it with mom. Maybe he did in the beginning, but as time passed and when the child is able to recognize, the child didn't see love. I think all children should see their parents loving on each other. How else would they learn to do so? So in my incident, I would have stayed in the relationship and endured whatever I did endure because I became complacent. I became content in the misery. I truly believe that's what I was supposed to have done. And I do believe that God says if you don't remove something that is not supposed to be in your life, I'm going to remove it for you. I believe that statement. Guess what? He didn't want to be here anymore. So I felt like that was my God's way and the universe's way of removing something that wasn't doing me any good. So that affected me as far as the children. And I decided after he left, maybe a month or two, probably not even a month. I woke up one Monday morning and something said, go file your divorce. And I called up my attorney and I told him what I needed to do. He's a great friend of mine now, and he told me to come on, and he coached me through that entire divorce because I was still in love with my ex-husband at that time. But I tell my girls now, ask questions for people you date because your brain is still in control. Once the heart gets in it, it's kind of tough. It's a tough cookie to try to break. So yeah, I had to talk myself and coach myself to go through with everything, to get up, put clothes on, to drive all the way downtown, to go sign these papers and acknowledge the fact that my life is about to change completely and I have no idea what it's going to look like tomorrow. All I know is I've been with someone for over 22 years and now I'm about to be without this person and I have no clue what life has to offer, what I'm going to do with my children, how this is going to affect them, how it's going to affect me. It was the feeling that I got at that moment. I was scared. I was hurt. I was more scared than anything. I felt betrayed. I had so many emotions that day, but I knew it was something I had to do. And well, it was because first he left. Amongst that, I thought we were trying to work things out, but that wasn't the case. I was the only one trying to work something out. And I've learned from that is too, you can't keep a man or woman that does not want to be kept. So you leave him alone, you let him go. And I have let him go. I wish him well. I don't have any ill will towards him at all because my life has been fantastic. And I can't even express how great my life has been since. And I can only imagine what I would still be doing if I was still in that marriage. So I'm glad that he did what he did. I feel like, and I put it in my book, that there are a lot of people who are afraid to do that. They're afraid to leave. So infidelity gets involved. They hang around, don't want to be there, and they're miserable, and they stay, and they, find them a side piece or whatever you want to call it, and that's what happens. In this situation, I give him credit for leaving because he didn't have to. I was still in love with him. He could have been doing whatever he was doing on the side. I probably wasn't going to question any of it. I just wanted him to be here. So I commend him for doing that, and that's something that all people should be willing to do, regardless of what the future holds. That's better than being miserable in the situation that you are. I still always say, if you don't like where you are, change it. Don't complain about it, change it. So you have to change the situation you're in. For me, I didn't want to change. I complained about it, but I didn't want to change it because my heart was still in it. So I kudos to my ex because he did something that he didn't even have to do, especially with us having 2 children. He didn't have to do it. He could have said, I'm going to stick around for my girls. He could have, but I'm glad he didn't. So my heart is in the right place with him making the decision and doing what he needed to do because we have been so much better off now to where I can't help but commend him. He could have been still here, us fighting, fussing, whatever. And that's the way I would have thought. And my children would have thought that's how a marriage is supposed to operate. So he's killed a bunch of birds with a stone based on the actions of him leaving. And I truly take my hat off to him. But I don't know what woke me up that morning and told me to get up and go do it. But I did. I didn't hesitate. I felt the weight off of me when I left the attorney's office, and things have been good since. Things have been really great since.
I mean, you said some powerful things in that passage, and you're right. There are a lot of people who are suffering in a relationship or in a marriage right now because
Mhm.
they're afraid to leave. You know, a lot of times that fear of the unknown is what
Unknown,
stops
absolutely.
people from leaving. You know, what
That
am I
is-
going to do? Will I ever find love again? How will I support myself? How am I going to support the kids? What are
yeah,
people going to think about me? You know,
yeah.
there's so many things that go across people's minds. So, what do you tell those people who are in that situation?
I tell them to do it. I tell them if whomever, because even in my situation, we were a very popular couple. Everybody knew us. Everybody knew us, just at least locally. Everybody knew us. So there was disrespect started to happen publicly with my ex. And at that point is when I knew I had to just, this if you don't have respect for me, then at that point, I can't even have you around me. Like you don't even respect me. So I would tell people, do it. Don't think too much about it. You'll cross that bridge when you get there and you'll be in a happier place. You do have to find that tenacity. You do have to find that inner self because you won't do it if you continue to believe that this is where you're supposed to be. If you're unhappy, that's not where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be alone or with someone else that will love you. I had those thoughts, of course, that I would never find love again. And then I had to because I called myself, you have to check yourself.
You're right.
All the time. So even in the midst of saying, would I ever find love again? The checker in me would say, girl, you ain't found love. You ain't never had it. You don't even know what you're missing. You ain't never had it. So stop saying, will I ever? Because even in the relationship, you didn't have love then. So I'm like, okay. So I had to check myself on that. But I just would, and this is where, and it's not a strong woman perspective because I would hope the next man who is miserable would take the same steps my ex did. But you have to have a strong mind. You can't be worried about what other people say. It comes with humility. I was the first to expose that we were divorced, which was common sense because at the time he had already done his thing publicly with someone else. At that point, it was making a mockery of me. So I had to. It was something that I'm like, good grief, like you can't just chill out until we go and get this done. Like nobody cared. So I knew at that time, go ahead and divorce, cry for those 3 to 6 months and stop crying, or you stay married and be crying the rest of your life. Well, I didn't want to do that. I want to be able to put on makeup and not have to cry about it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to invest these 3 months, 6 months, however long it's going to take to cry, but I'm going to go ahead and file for this divorce. And that's what I did. So you have to kind of psych yourself up to do things. There have been so many things I'll psych myself up to do. And sometimes it was the worst thing to do. Most of the times it was the right thing to do. So in situations like this, we have to understand we can't try to, if you struggle to find the good in your relationship, then you know you're not supposed to be there. You have to understand that as an individual, you deserve the best. If they're not giving you the best, let them go. Why? Because they're going to give that best to somebody. It just wasn't meant for them to give that best to you. So does that make my ex a bad person? Absolutely not. Not at all. If not his cup of tea, then that's what it is. We were together for so long. We just grew apart. And that's what I feel. I just think we grew apart. And what he looked for in a woman, I didn't have whatever he looked for in a woman at that age, I didn't have it anymore. I have to be okay with that. I'm not going to point fingers at him or anyone else because we split. I commend him for what he's done. So both of us can tell you, what do you do? Because he had the tenacity and the strength mentally to leave. And I had the tenacity mentally to go ahead and file for divorce and make sure everything was done and we were over with. So will I ever find love? I don't know. But as long as I'm single, what I do know is nobody's disrespecting me. Nobody's cheating on me. I don't have to worry about those things. So I'm cool. Would I ever get in a relationship? I don't know. I'm kind of scared. Well, I'm lying. I'm a lot of scared. They cheated on Halle Berry, She got all the money in the world. She's a beautiful woman. People say she cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but I think we all have a little crazy in us.
You're right.
We all got a little crazy in us, So it's in a situation to where you got to figure out what crazy you want to deal with. You want to be
Exactly.
this crazy or this crazy. The crazy might be completely different. It may be something you're used to, or it may be something that, okay, I can deal with this crazy, but I can't deal with that other chick crazy. So do I think my crazy is worth dealing with? Absolutely. I do. So it's just a matter of the right person coming along, because when I tell you I have negative zero tolerance at my age, you can't be trying to get where you want to go. You can't be trying. I want to know what your FICO score is. That's what I want to know. I want to know if you got retirement benefits at my age now. 20 years ago, I probably wouldn't have cared. But now you can't be trying unless you're, doing what you need to do to get where you need to go and you've already accomplished some things. Then I can accept that. But to be in your 40s or 50s and you still working on what? No, I have zero tolerance for things that I would not allow in a relationship. It could be the reason why I'm still single. I've ran from a couple of people because it scares me. Love scares me. It scares me really, really bad because I know how bad off I was when that happened. I don't ever want to experience that again. So I've ran from a few people to avoid myself from falling in love, because I felt like at some moment I was going to have to force myself to fall out of love again, whether it was for infidelity or disrespect or whatever the case may have been. I chose to I'm not ready yet. Let me just be single until I'm ready. And that's what happened. But you have to have the mental capacity to make those decisions. Because if you don't, if your heart is there, your heart is going to always win. Always. So you have to be able to discern between what your brain is telling you, because your brain gonna tell you the truth. Your brain gonna say, girl, you stupid as hell. Stand in The brain is not gonna lie to you. The brain, that's your checker. Your brain gonna check
you. All right.
Your brain gonna check you, be like, girl, you finna fall for this okie doke again. You done lost your mind. The brain tells you what it is. It's your heart that says, no, they don't mean that. They are good people. So now your brain and your heart is having a battle. As a matter of fact, driving to my divorce, my brain and my heart, they were going at it. Because I would say, this is the right thing. And then I'd be like, oh, but I love him so much. Girl, you better get your behind on that and go and use that ink pen and sign on the dotted lines for that divorce. My heart, but I love him so much, maybe he'll change. So my heart and my brain were battling each other the entire time I was going through the process of the divorce. This was the first time I actually ever listened to my brain. Okay. My heart won the last 20 years. My brain won this time. So we have to have the mental capacity to understand that your brain is always going to tell you the truth. Your heart is going to sugarcoat everything. And you have to be able to discern between the two. And that's what I did.
After all that, I need to take a breath. Really? I mean, you dropped so many nuggets. Yes, I mean, yes. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to catch my breath. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things you said that people go through is, but the thing that I think I latched on to is you said that you made your mind up that you were going to cry for 3 to 6 months and then be over with it. But so many people today, they try to avoid the pain. But I like what you did. You acknowledge that this pain is going to happen, and I'm going to go through it, and then I'm going to be better.
Absolutely. You have to prep. You have to prep for what's to come. So I literally prepped myself to know what was to come. And I knew at the end of that struggle, I would be okay. I knew I would be okay. I got my life intact. My children are on one accord. They understand what's going on. And they know, look, y'all, when this is over with, y'all gonna have to, I'm gonna be crying a lot, but we gonna be okay. I literally coach that to my children and let them understand, I call it in my upcoming book, I call it shedding. When a woman cries that much or mourn, I call it shedding, because we're having to let those tears go to understand that we have to shed so we can move on past whatever hurt we're going through. So I don't condemn when I see women crying. Some people are just not as emotional when it comes to watching people cry. But for me, I acknowledge the fact that, okay, whatever this person is, and even for men, whatever they're going through, they're letting something go every moment that they have to cry about it, whether someone has passed away or whether it was a horrible breakup. They're having to shed to let that part of whatever that struggle was go. And I cried a lot. So at this point, being single, I am at a perfect place to where I'm okay. I'm okay with seeing my past relationship with other women. I'm okay with acknowledging the fact that first, that he just didn't want me anymore. You have to be okay with that. You have to humble yourself to know that that's the way it was supposed to happen. That's what we hope for. As cruel as it sounds, being in a relationship, if one comes to the other and say, I don't want to do this anymore, you have to respect that. Don't try to force it. And that's something I had to learn as well. I was trying to force a relationship. Allow a man or woman to do what they want to do. Don't try to change it. Don't try to fix it. Allow them to do what they want to do, and you make your decision based on their actions. And that's it. I have done that so many times because from my perspective, when it comes to a man, I think men hunt. That is not my job to hunt a man. A man is to hunt. If he wants to be with me, he will put in the effort to show me he wants to be with me. If he's showing me anything different, don't force it. Let it go, because a man is always on. Let me tell you what I do know. Men are always on. They're always entertaining somebody. So if they're not entertaining you, so let them go. Let them go, because somebody got his attention. And that's the way I have interpreted life and have even learned things about myself since my split. Because before then, only thing I knew is what I didn't want. I said, if I get in this relationship, he better not do this. I never acknowledged what I do want. So even after dating, I have been exposed to things that were breathtaking. I have been treated so much better just in dating that I had ever been in my relationship. Wow. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even believe that these type of men still existed.
But like, you ran anyway.
I ran anyway because I said, this is false. This is false hope. You know how they dangle this over your head for 30 days or 90 days, and then after that they take it away, and now you got the real me. That has been my biggest fear, is acknowledging, okay, they're doing all this to get me. It's like a cat. You want to feed them and you bring them on in the house to do whatever you want to do to the cat, and then that's it, it's gone. So for me, I'm very objective, and I have to sit back and say, okay, this is who you really are. Okay, no, I don't want any of that. Oh, you're MIA today. Okay, I don't want any of that either, because if you're MIA already, then you're going to be MIA in a relationship if I allow you to do that. So let men be who they want to be. Let women be who they want to be, and you make decisions based on their actions. So for me, that's what I've gained from just that aspect of knowing now what people want and what people don't want and what people cherish. You got to cherish me.
Okay. We hear that loud and clear. You have to be cherished.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned something, and our listeners probably missed it, but you mentioned your upcoming book, The Strength of a Woman, From the Depths of My Soul.
Oh.
Yeah, it sounds like a song on an album that I need to buy.
It does. This book is, I have a purpose for this book. And since my split, I have been pinged from men and women asking, how did I do it? What is it like? Which allowed me to know that there are so many other individuals who want to do this, but they just can't. I think one of the main reasons is what we discussed. They're scared of the unknown. They have no idea what to expect. Some people may stay married because, what is that old song? It's cheaper to keep her. Some people may, be holding on to those type of aspects. But the book is a book that tells you, regardless of your trials and tribulations, get up. Get up, get up, get up. Get off that floor. Time is the most precious thing that we have. The longer you linger in sorrow, the more time you're wasting when you should be doing things to after you shed, be prepared for what your new life and what your new physical and mental aspect what they're going to be. So you have to be able to understand when you fall, acknowledge what you fell for, and understand that you have to get back up. I'm very detailed in some of the things in my book when it comes to what I've gone through and what my children have gone through and the outcome of it all. And the book allows people to know that there are so many people out there going through the same thing that we have all gone through to a certain extent, to where we've had to pick ourselves up. And I acknowledge what I did to pick myself up. One of those things that I did that I picked myself up is, after that, it was just me and my girls. We were here, and I needed to make more money. I needed to. I knew at that point, I've always been against child support to a certain extent, but the last thing my ex told me is I was the worst person he's ever met. So I told myself, I'm going to be the best ex-wife you have ever known. So I made sure that even through all of what I had endured from him, the disrespect, I still did whatever I could to lower child support, because I didn't want him to suffer. He had another life to live after me. I didn't think it's fair to try to get all the money because I'm bitter. No, that's not what it was about. It was about him helping out in whatever form or fashion way he felt like he should. Whatever he didn't do, it wasn't for me to acknowledge. It was for my children to acknowledge. So I left that up there to him. But in the midst of the divorce, the decision that I made, and I talk about in the book, is to move. That is still a touchy subject because I left my children alone. Their dad was no longer in the home. My mom came to stay with my youngest because my oldest was at Jackson State at the time. So in the eyes of my youngest, it appeared that I was leaving her as well. So all she saw was two parents leaving her. And it's crazy because we actually just had a conversation and she's just now understanding that the lead was to better the three of us. And I kept my home for her, my youngest, so she can stay here and finish her senior year in high school. Otherwise, I would have packed them all up and moved them where I was living. I literally kept this property so she can be happy because I had to make a conscious choice decision. Do I make her come with me and she be miserable and now she's an unhappy child, her grades are not the same? Or do I allow her to stay and her grades continue to be up and she continues to be a happy child and she continues to persevere? I made the decision to say I would prefer for her to stay here and be a happy child. That way she's making healthy decisions about life and she can continue on. She had to acknowledge that everything that I had done was for her and her sister. She was so in her box with everything that had taken place. She didn't even realize what I had done. And that was okay because it wasn't her place to understand it so much. So in the book, I talk about making decisions to move 5 hours away from my children in order to give them a better life than they've had. And I have thankfully done exactly that. My children don't hurt for anything. And I do understand that tomorrow that can change for me. But my children also tell you, I know how to make shit happen. So the book talks about making decisions. And I read something one day and it said that next decision could determine your whole entire life. So making decision as small as it sounds, when I made the decision to accept a career opportunity and to move, it changed our lives completely, but it changed it for the better. It changed it for the better. So the book lets people know it's okay to cry. It's okay to break down. It's okay to be in spaces that you're not comfortable with, but it's up to you to get up and get up. You have to be able to get up. Don't allow any man, human, animal, or whatever you want to call to put you down. My mom told me when I was home sobbing because I had divorced, she said, get your ass up. You crying over one man. There's a billion people in this world and you crying over one man. It was almost like a slap in the face because I had to acknowledge the fact that she was right. Did she understand what I was going through? Absolutely. She knew how I felt, but she had to literally coach me in that way. If she would have been nurturing, it probably wouldn't have done me any good because I'm too headstrong. I probably would have ignored that. So she knew not to come to me, baby. I wouldn't have heard anything she said. She knew that she had to come to me in attack mode for me to even hear what she was saying. And she would do that. And that was my aha moment. Oh, Mama, you're right. It is a million other people in this world. Why am I crying over this man? You know, he's out being happy. So that was an aha moment for me to just acknowledge, wow, I can start over. It's not bad. Things are great. And we all have to acknowledge that. And I put all that in the book about a lot of the decisions I had to make because I've been the decision maker forever. So knowing that now I'm having to make these decisions for me and my children alone, it's scary. When I left, I was scared. It didn't mean no good to be scared. I had to do what I had to do. So that's what that book is for. So I was hoping it'll come out this month, but it's not going to happen. So it may be 2021. I'm almost done with it. And I'm telling you, just be prepared because I really get into some deep conversations about what others have experienced based on my experiences. It's another raw and uncut book.
I can't wait. I like how you give it to us. You give it to us raw, and we love that.
Yes.
I don't like that stuff that's sugar coated. Just give it to me raw.
Exactly. And that's how my mom raised me. So that's how I raised my children. And hopefully in generations to pass, they will continue to do the same. Because if you don't give it to me the right way, you're going to allow social media to sugarcoat it. And then once you allow them to sugarcoat it, and when you're done with it, you realize it was cold.
Exactly.
Nothing you wanted. Yeah. So I have to make sure I give it to anyone the right way because otherwise social media will tell them something different.
I agree 100%. I can't wait. Mm-hmm. Now, Ms. Petite, what is your greatest passion?
Speaking, mentoring. I had a club called the Six Figure Club that I had to cancel last year when I moved. And just to see how much we're needed as adults for children who can't speak with their parents or who can't open up to their parents, to know that I was able to be that vessel for them and to watch them be curious and to allow them and just to watch them listen to me and hold on to every word that I tell them. It's amazing to me. It makes my heart smile to be able to uplift a child who just came home because their mom called them a hoe before they walked out the door. For me to come into contact with those type of children who's never had anyone to say, I love you, or who's never had anyone to say, I'm here for you, or who's never had a hug from anyone. So they're bitter. And I actually posted on my other social media page the other day is unhappy parents will pretty much raise unhappy children.
I agree.
Those same children will make unhappy decisions in their life.
You're right.
When you change, you have to know how to be happy around your children. And that's another aha moment for a lot of parents. It's okay, yeah, you're paying your children to see you cry. I get that. But if you're an angry parent, then you're raised your children, they don't know anything else but to be angry. The same thing you're calling your children, that's what they're calling their peers. And probably some adults. Because that's what they know. You taught them that. No, you didn't say this is what I'm supposed to do, but you've shown them what to do. And that screams louder than what you could ever tell them. Again, we're going back to what I said earlier.
Yeah.
So you have to learn to be a happy parent around your children. And I do believe that parent, if they allow any other person in their life, that they have to be able to watch that person be good to them. For me, for an example, with me raising two girls, they've never seen a man love their mother, be affectionate towards their mother. So in my mind, what does that mean to them? Do they think it's okay not to be affectionate towards your spouse? Do they lose that aspect of life of being affectionate because they hadn't seen it? How does that work? I don't know. We'll be finding out pretty soon, I'm sure, as they get older and they start to really date. But what does that mean? So I truly believe that children are supposed to see you love on each other. Mine has never seen that. And so if I do attempt to date, I have to see how he's going to interact with me so my children can see the right thing and not the wrong thing. They've seen a lot of the wrong thing. They need to see the right thing now. So they got to cop the book. They got it. And yes, mentoring is definitely something I want to do.
Okay, great. Now, name 3 people you admire and why.
I kind of hate to say it. And the reason why I hate to say this because it's expected. Because these are the 3 people that I talk about the most. And even if I get a man, I'm not going to talk about him. So my children and my mother. And the reason is because we can have a celebrity as someone who we look up to or just someone who we say we want to be just like them. But what we haven't seen is how the celebrity is under pressure. We have never seen these celebrities just at their lowest. So with me being around my mom and my children, I've watched them get up. So I know how they are at what could be considered one of their worst times in life. I've watched them get up and push through. So I'm able to say, if I have tenacity to do what they've done, then that's who I would follow. Because there have been plenty of times where my youngest, she's had to be the parent for me and my oldest daughter, and vice versa. So to watch them go through things and see how they pick themselves up is what is meant. That's what meant the most to me. And that's why I would have to choose them as the three people.
You know, in your book, you talk about your mom, and on your social media posts, you talk about your mom being your rock. Yes. So, you know, how does she influence your life?
Oh gosh, she has completely influenced my life, because I truly can say I've raised both of my children the exact same way she raised me. Okay. So in those situations to where we talk about my mom being the rock, even to this day, my mom still makes sure I'm okay. If I need anything, she's there. If I need her to do anything, she's there. My mom is 70 years old, and I'm thankful to know that she gets around faster than I do. She doesn't need any help for anything. But if me or my girls, if she needs to drive to Timbuktu, she will jump in her car and do just that. So she's one of the only people in this world that I can depend on. I hate to bother her. Luckily, I haven't been able to. I haven't had a reason to, but she's always there. And just to even think about the moment that one day she won't be there makes me emotional. But she was the one that allowed me to go out of town, because she agreed to come stay in my home with my daughter to allow her to go back to school, to stay in her school here publicly. She didn't have to agree to that. She could have easily said, baby, I don't feel like it, or no, you need to take your children home up there with you. She did not have to do that. So because of her, I have to acknowledge the fact, even with the changes I made in life, it was her that allowed me to make those changes. I couldn't have given my daughter to anyone else. Clearly, she couldn't have went anywhere else if this is the only place that we knew she could go. So she's always there for me, even when I least expect her to be, or even in my trying times when she's telling me to get my ass off the floor. So she is definitely my rock. I hear her talking when I have to make certain decisions in life. So it's worth it. I don't know what I would do without her. I don't ever want to.
She was a single mom as well, right?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said that. In my book, I talk about how history repeats itself. When growing up, my mom and my dad divorced when I was only 3 years old. I still remember to this day my mom having 2 jobs as a single parent. And even before she divorced, she was the one making the money. My dad wasn't working or anything of that nature. And they were getting into it. And the entire time I'm planning my future. I'm gonna have this many kids. I'm gonna have a good looking husband, and we're gonna be rich. Not realizing I was watching my mom, and she was prepping me to be a single mother. Like I never would have saw this happening. But because I watched her as a single mother, it was easy for me to transition into being a single mother. But just to know that this is like a cycle, like, wow, I'm doing exactly what my mom did. Is it something to be ashamed of? No, especially not to go through any turmoil just to say I'm married. Nope, we're going to do it. And she didn't either. So if my children decide to get married, they won't stay in a marriage that's not, if it's dysfunctional. They'll have the tenacity to leave as well. They won't just sit around in it. So just knowing how this has just come full circle with me doing the exact same thing, you can't help but understand why she's my rock. It's amazing to me what the things she has done for me and what she continues to do.
Okay. Excellent. Now, do you think there's also a lesson out there in your daughter seeing you find a healthy relationship again and dating and, you know, all of that good stuff? Do you think there's a lesson in that for them as well?
Absolutely. And I think the lesson is it's okay to be by yourself. You need to learn who you are first. One of the things that I have heard is people tell me, don't date right now. You need to figure out who you are. And I'm like, I don't like that when people say that, because I didn't know who I was when I first divorced. So how was I going to get to know who I am? Through relationships, whether it was through my girlfriends or attempting to date. So did I start dating or going out on dates immediately? I sure did. I didn't waste any time. Tomorrow's not promised. And what did that teach me? I began to learn who I am. I began to learn what I did like. It would have been horrible if I would have waited these years that people are telling me, you need to wait, you need to wait. Wait for what? And you got some man laying next to you who probably was in my inbox last week. Girl, bye. Don't tell me that. And you laying up next to somebody every night, and I'm in my big old bed alone. I couldn't stand that.
I agree.
Yeah, but I think the lesson that they see is mom did what she had to do. I understand mom is a woman. She wants companionship, but she's not going to sell her soul to get it. If he's not going to treat her a certain type of way, she just won't be with him. So I know I can do the same thing. So that was the lesson that I think that because they watched me and they've seen how great men have treated me just going on dates. Like they're like, Mom, you went where? Mom, look, somebody delivered you flowers. And so they've never seen that before. That's so horrible. But this is their first time seeing things like that. Like, wow, my mom really is the bum. Like, he about to lose his job because he's trying to get with my mama. Like, he don't even care. So they watched these people show real interest in me. And it has amazed them. And I hate that because it shouldn't have been the first time that an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old have seen someone show their mother that type of attention. So I'm hoping the lesson is mama did what she had to do. Mama good. And mama has put in me to don't take no crap. If you see the red flags up front, go ahead and move on. If they're not putting up the efforts, go ahead and move on. They're not for you. They don't want you if they're not putting up the efforts. So, and at a point, they wanted me to get my nails done. I said, Mom, we got to turn you into a real girl.
Oh, wow.
Because some things I just didn't care about. So hopefully that's the biggest lesson is knowing that they don't have to hold on to anyone that does not want to hold on to them.
Excellent message. So what advice would you give to, usually I say young people, but anyone who wants to be successful? What piece of advice would you give them?
I think manifestation has worked for me. Meditation has worked for me. Everybody is not, that's something everyone don't want to do, but you have to write your goals down, scratch out what you accomplished to keep it moving. A lot of people get overwhelmed when they think about building business or creating wealth. The reason is because they're not writing things down. And what's the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. So you have to acknowledge what you want to do and write it down. That has always worked for me to write it down. And even in the middle of the night, when you're thinking of things, get up and write it down. I keep a notepad on the side of my desk because that's how I came up with my book title for my first book. It was out of nowhere and I got up and I wrote it down. I'm like, oh, wow. So subconsciously, you have no idea what you're capable of until you realize that this is something you really want to do. If you're passionate about it, you'll do it anyways. So the advice would be write your goals down. If it's your passion, it's something that you'll be able to do and you'll be able to do it well. And you won't really worry about the money up front because it's something you want to do anyways. So you have to write your goals and dreams down on a piece of paper in black and white and continue to manifest it.
Okay. Great advice. Write those goals down. And in addition to that, I always tell people, write your goals down, but then write down the steps to each of those goals on how you're going to accomplish those things. And that's what's going to keep you moving forward toward those goals.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. All right. I mean, this has been an awesome session with you. It's been on fire. This is one of the best podcast episodes we've had. You brought it to us. It was raw. It was real. It was gritty. And I like that. I can't wait for your next book to drop, whether it's the end of this year or early next year. I'm definitely I'm going to actually have to get my autograph copy, just like
you got to come. You got to come.
Got to get it.
Yes.
Close. Yes, ma'am. So you said that you are a speaker. You said that you are a mentor. You're a mother. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to get you to come and speak or they want some mentorship or some advice? How can they reach you?
They can reach me by 3 platforms. Instagram is inquisitive.i.am on Instagram. And they can reach me on Facebook, and it's Nicole Maria on Facebook. And they can also email me at focusedfearlessandfighting@gmail.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's a great thing. Any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. I'm not going to keep you another hour, so I'm going to try to make this short.
Hey, I'm ready for another hour. Let's go.
My closing thoughts would be is we have to learn to change our objective on how we treat people. Hurt people. So we have to learn to step back and break these curses that Black women especially are angry, because that's not the truth. We are truly hurting individuals for whatever the case may be. I do believe once you see a smile on a woman's face, that lets you know how the man treats her, whether it's the entire society or whether it's the entire society of men, or whether one particularly in her life. If you want to see how happy a nation is, check out the women in that nation. I really do believe that. So to all my ladies, cry, let it out, but know that in the midst of the tears, you got to keep it moving, because time is priceless and it waits for no one.
Excellent advice. You got to shed, you know. Yeah, I can't wait to read that in your book. You know, you talk about shedding, and I've always saw tears as a man. You know, we are socialized not to cry. Crying shows weakness. So men aren't supposed to cry. In my generation, that's how we are raised. Yes. But I've always come to the conclusion that, okay, it's okay to cry, but cry with a purpose. Cry with a purpose. And once you shed those emotions, once you shed that anger, once you shed that fear, let it go. Let it go and move on.
That's it. That. Ooh, you hit it on the head. That's what it's about. I've had conversations with men who feel like that stereotypically they're not supposed to cry, you know, and I'm like, why? You're human first. You're human first. It's okay to cry, you know, and it goes back to why women wear fitted clothes to please men. There are certain things that men won't do so they won't get called weak by these same women. So it's a double-edged sword to a certain extent.
It is.
So we have to do better with each other as far as how our women treat our men and how men treat our women. We're in two different worlds. Even the good girls, they get mistreated by the bad guys, and then the good guys get mistreated by the bad girls. Definitely. So we have to figure out, how do we change that notion to put people together and they treat each other respectfully and love on each other again, because there's not a lot of that going on that I'm seeing anyway.
I agree wholeheartedly. And I think part of the reason, and it may be the main reason, is that people don't go in with clear communication. You know, the thing is, you want that person because you think you might like this person. You're going to only show them the good stuff because you don't want to spook them too early in the process.
Yeah.
You show them so much good that by the time they see the bad, they're already hooked. But I think, like you said, you got a little crazy.
Yeah,
you got a little crazy. So let that person know about your craziness up front.
That's right. You know? I agree with that. I've gone on a few dates where some of the I call them applicants. Some of the applicants were asking, what are you looking for in a man? Why would I tell you that? So you can pretend to be him for 30 days. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to watch how you act and watch, how you move, and then we'll go from there. But I'm not going to give you the handbook. No. And I found that interesting. Like, why would you ask me that? So you can pretend to be somebody that you're really not? Nah, I'll pass.
Excellent. This has been a great episode. Thank you so much, Ms. Petit, for taking this time with us. It's been awesome.